Pinna.
And Arlie, yeah.
His video's not on right now, so we can't pin him.
Arlie.
Yeah. I'm here.
Go ahead, Arlie.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the MPI show. I hope you're ready for an exciting show. We got some of the greatest folks that you could ever imagine on the show today that have been really, really successful. And I hope you have got a notepad handy, and I hope you can do some screenshots because, you cannot get a hold of this later. It's just not available to be replayed. So make sure that you grab what you can. And my distinct pleasure this morning to introduce our first guest.
Thank goodness.
Who is going to, do a little orientation for the new people. But this is a buddy of mine. We've been in business in the foxholes a long time. Brad Gerard is our Canadian Leadership Council chairman. He's $1 million earner with $1 billion of assets under management. And, he just thinks he's just getting started, I think, which is really a good place to be because nobody ever takes for granted anything when you start to be successful in Primerica. And Brad is one of those guys that thinks outside of the box. He's a huge visionary and he's just an incredible human being. And so, Brad Gerard, happy to have you. Take it away and looking forward to what you got to share.
Thank you, Arlie. You might not be able to see me for some reason. I can't share my video. I don't know. Maybe one of the hosts needs to give me permission. I'm not sure. There we go. Start my video. It will not work. Well, this is a first. Everybody can hear me okay?
How do we know it's really you?
Honestly, it's a recording. It's a bot. So you can see the screen. Hey, I'm just going to run through. We get a lot of new people that are on, and if you're newer, sometimes I believe this can be a little intimidating. Listening to all of these superstars who have hundreds of millions of dollars under management, and when you're out there hunting for a PAC or a dollar so you can survive, it might seem like you're a million miles away from where they are. So I want to kind of give you some perspective and help you to realize that you don't have to be as smart as what you're seeing on the screen or what appears on the screen. Sometimes we look a lot smarter than we actually are. So let me help you out with kind of a mindset that really helped me in the business. This is from Nick Murray. Nick Murray said, I was extremely fortunate in the mid-1980s to attend a presentation by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, who in 1979 had published a landmark paper in Econometrica on decision-making under uncertainty. Their work became the foundation for the whole field of behavioral economics, which studies, amongst other things, the fundamental non-rationality of investor decision-making. And that's what we work with all the time, non-rational investor decision-making. At that stage in my career, modern portfolio theory was in the first great phase of its ascendancy. I thought and think modern portfolio theory absurd. Its acolytes remind me of nothing so much as people who clung to Newton physics even after Einstein. Newton physics assumed that the universe is finite and stable in a stable state. Einstein demonstrated that it was neither. Modern portfolio theory, which means I can put together a portfolio to manage the best returns of the market, and then I'll come and move the portfolio around when the market's going to drop, and then when the market's going to go up again, I'm going to move it around again, and we're always going to get the best returns possible. That's modern portfolio theory in a nutshell. That is not what we do. Nobody can do that. Even the smartest people in the world cannot do that. It's impossible to do. And so the great thing is you don't have to worry about that. A lot of people get into business and they think, what if I invest some money and I make a mistake? What if I put it in the wrong investment? What if it doesn't get a good return? What if there's something better? And we begin to become consumed with that. Well, this will help you out with that. The modern portfolio theory begins with the idea of the rational actor, that all market participants are rational, self-interested, and calculating. All my experience suggests just the opposite, that the great mass of individual investors were non-rational and even systematically non-rational in their behavior. But I couldn't find my Einstein until I encountered Kahneman and Tversky, who knocked me clean off my horse on the road to Damascus. My career since then, both as an advisor and as an advisor to other advisors, has been based on the realization that investor performance, A, can't be predicted, B, can't be controlled other than through asset allocation decision, and C, doesn't matter. The vast preponderance of an investor's lifetime return comes not from investment performance, but from investor behavior. And that, I found, was something over which I could exercise some meaningful control if I worked on it pretty much full time. This meant that I did virtually no portfolio management, which was just fine because I decided it was mostly a waste of time anyway. He said, I've never from this day, that day to this, suggested that the funds or the managers that I chose were going to outperform those owned by my clients' neighbors. Instead, I've maintained that my clients were going to outperform their neighbors. The trick has been getting them to see that these are two entirely different things. The reason we're going to get better results than virtually the entire rest of the investor population, I said, was that we were going to behave more appropriately than the same percentage of investors, not so much by doing something exceptionally, brilliantly right, but by avoiding the big behavioral mistake, which I believe is sell low and buy high. In a very real sense, Kahneman and Tversky gave me permission to concentrate my career as an advisor on the effort to modify investor behavior. So forget markets, forget relative performance, get your own psychology under control, and then concentrate on helping clients to behave appropriately, or just not to behave inappropriately, and you'll have more than riches, you'll have happiness. Investment performance doesn't determine real life returns. Investor behavior does. That's really, really important to wrap your mind around as you begin your career in this business, because when you do, you begin to understand that my responsibility is not to make sure that I get the best returns possible all the time on a market that fluctuates. That my responsibility is to help my clients put together a game plan and then stay the course through the ups and downs. And so where do you start? Well, everybody that we talk to may not need insurance. Everyone that we talk to may not have a big portfolio to move. That's a good thing, because every single person out there needs to invest. And so what I believe that you should do if you're just starting your career here, you just got your license, you should focus on opening accounts for everyone, as many as you possibly can. In fact, we can do PACs for as little as $25 a month. We work with clients that really nobody else wants to work with. And so what I try and help our guys do is get focused on go get your first clients as fast as possible. Service them through your CRM and become worthy of acquiring the high net worth clients through experience and your commitment to skill up. So let me give you some resources that I think will help you out. First of all, POL has a cornucopia of resources and that you can get into. It'll help you out. There's Canadian and American resources. All you have to do is go to POL Products Investments and start diving in before you feel like, man, I'm overwhelmed with all of the stuff that I've got to learn. Just pick one thing, maybe every night, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, instead of turning the TV on, go on to POL and watch a video, watch something, do something to get better every single day. And before you know it, you'll be a pro in the business. Also, Omar just redid his securities boot camp, brought it up to date. Omar says if you watch 1 hour a day of his securities boot camp for 30 days, you're going to go through the training series 3 times. You're going to have all the basics down. And so make sure that you do that. Also, there's a lot of resources out there that are available to help you. You can, and I know this has been shared on the Telegram, MPI Telegram site. You can go into files or links and find this. It's a training that Eldon Larson did on how to use a financial calculator. You can use the one on POL, or if you want a little bit more comprehensive one, the 10B2, you can download and use it, and it helps you to understand the future value of money and how to sit with clients and help them to understand that each decision that they make over a long period of time is not a small decision, but it's a big decision when it comes to their money. The other thing that I would encourage you to do is get on to the Morningstar section under POL. You can find it on the left-hand side as you scroll down the investment section. Get on there and start learning Morningstar. Run some hypotheticals. You know, when you pick up portfolios from clients, this is where you're going to go and you're going to back test and run hypotheticals. So start learning that now. Morningstar is an unbelievable tool. If you're an advisor in the real world, Morningstar is going to run you anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a year to have access to it, and you get it for your $25 POL fee. It's crazy the value that's in there. The next thing is, if you're not engaged on the CRM, you really need to get engaged on CRM. Get in. There's so much training available now every week, Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern time. You can get onto the CRM training. It's all designed to help you to service the clients you have and to grow your client base. And so the CRM is an unbelievable tool right now that everybody should grab a hold of. Now, there's some other resources I would encourage you to get. You know, as I close out here, I think Nick Murray has probably been responsible for 90% of the investments that I've got in my business, 900 million we've got under management. I would say of all the people that we get onto MPI, Nick Murray has played a critical and pivotal role in helping us manage our own mindset, communicate with clients, and build our business. And so there's a lot of resources. You can go to nickmurray.com. On his site. I would encourage you to pick up some of these books. Simple Wealth, Inevitable Wealth, I definitely would get, and The Game of Numbers. Most of us who've been around here for a long time learned the business by reading not Simple Wealth. I can't even remember the name of his book, the red one. Some of you guys know it. You can't get it anymore. Sorry, what's that?
Serious Money.
Serious Money, man. That changed my life reading that book. And basically it's broken out now into two books, Simple Wealth, Inevitable Wealth, and The Game of Numbers. I'd grab both of those. He's also got a new book out called Scripts, and you can order those. You can't get them on Amazon. You got to get them on his site. You can go onto YouTube, type in Nick Murray. There's some great video training out there that he's spoken for other companies with. And also I subscribed for a long time, many years, to his newsletter. I think it's a couple $100 a year, but for times like this, especially where the market's in a bit of a fluctuation, knowing how to communicate with your clients and having proper psychology around the market yourself is really important. On top of that, Howard Lashner, who's a good buddy of all of ours and unbelievable advisor, one of the top advisors in the whole United States by Forbes magazine, picked him one of the top advisors. He wrote a book called 10 Common Mistakes Financial Advisors Make and Simple Ideas to Avoid Them. And you can pick that up on Amazon. I would encourage everybody to read that. And here's a couple other sites that you can go to online. There's a tremendous amount of resources out there. Don Connolly is amazing. He's a great storyteller and trainer. You can go onto his site, onto YouTube, and find some of his stuff. I'm not saying you got to buy everything that they're selling, but there's a lot of free content on there. You can go and find that helps you to formulate stories to talk to your clients. This site has been a site that I've used a lot with new people, training them. The Advisor Coach, he's got some great video series on there. Your first year as a financial advisor is awesome. Building clients out of LinkedIn. And so there's a lot of resources out there. You can go to, obviously cn.com business, CNBC, foxbusiness.com, Bloomberg. There's a lot of Yahoo Finance. There's a lot of resources out there that you should kind of be going through on a daily basis just to get your EQ up, your IQ up when it comes to the financial industry. And then our partner sites are absolutely jam-packed with material, resources, and information. Get used to them. And if you're in Canada, AGF and Mackenzie. In the US, a lot of people use American Funds or Fidelity, Invesco, Lincoln. All of them have mountains of resources for free on their sites. You can go sign up, get their newsletters, and start learning the basics of what you need to know as you go out there and start building your client base and becoming a trusted advisor, which is what ultimately you want to be with your clients. Anyway, that's just a little bit of orientation that I did. I apologize. I don't know what happened to my camera. I'm going to have to go and get a new one, I guess. But I want to introduce our guests for today. My great friends, Rick Miller and Curt Joiner, superstars in the business. We all know Rick. Rick is a mentor, gives his time to mentor people. Many of my people have been through some mentoring and coaching from Rick. It's just unbelievable. He'll do it 24/7 too if you need him. Just call him anytime. And Curt Joiner is been in the business for a long time. I've known Curt and Rick are kind of like a married couple. They call themselves the odd couple. But what a great 1-2 punch you're getting today with these two big money makers, big money builders. And so, Rick, I'm going to turn it over to you, buddy.
Thank you, Brad. I tell you what, how powerful was what you just heard? Think about that for a second. Brad's got 900 million in assets under management. You're going to hear from Arlie in a second, and Arlie under one code's got $2,007,315,714 AUM under one code. Another code, $1,594,461,866. Doug Jackson's on the call, $1.8 billion AUM. Do you think maybe we should listen to this? Guys, you don't even understand. I mean, Scott, the giants that are on this call every week, Curt and I preparing for this call, we're thinking about what you have here. And quite honestly, you don't understand. You don't understand the powerhouses that are putting, content together for you every single week for you guys to deliver. I mean, look at, gosh, you got Ben Shepard, you got Eldon and Arlie. I mean, just an amazing organization that they've built where they're giving us nuggets every single week. Dave Harms, John Lavin, Mark Drake, Scott Fletcher. By the way, congratulations on both you guys just becoming IAC members, man. The IAC needs you, and I'm glad you guys are on there. Kathy Brennan, Howard Lasher, I can go on and on and on. So, but the point is, are you going to do anything with the content? Are you going to take this content and suck it up and figure out what it's going to take? I'll never forget the first time I met Curt Joiner. Curt, you have to correct me if you can on here. Had to be, 2003. I was an RVP. Do me a favor, spotlight for me if you would. It was, I went RVP in 2000. I'm direct to Gary McCrumman. I never, and Gary's direct to Hector Lamarck. I had never met Hector Lamarck. I was an RVP for about 1 year, and then Hector started running RVP meetings, and he invited any RVP in his hierarchy to come to these meetings. So I don't know when it was, 102, Curt, something like that. So I'd been an RVP for a year, never had ever met Hector, and he was first generation to me. And that was just, I guess it was the time it was back then. So I'll never forget this. Hector said, okay, guys, I'm going to do an accountability program, and here's the way it's going to work. You're going to write 10 checks for $250 to your charity. And when you don't do what you're supposed to do every single week, I'm going to deposit that check to your charity. So it's going to cost you whatever, $3,000 or whatever it was, Curt. And every week I'm going to match you up with an RVP, and that RVP is going to become your accountability partner. Okay. So, and week one, I was matched up with, I think Mike Mendoza, or month one, it was Mike Mendoza. And then month two, it was Curt Joiner. And Hector was brilliant. You know what he said? If you don't do what you're supposed to do, Curt, or you don't do what you're supposed to do, Rick, you need to rat out the other person and send me an email and says they didn't do their homework this week. And it was literally an Excel spreadsheet. And really it was brilliant, because all it did is think about what I'm getting ready to say. It tracked an attempt to a contact, a contact to a scheduled to a conducted, and a conducted to a closed. And it literally broke it down in an Excel format. Remember that, Kurt? I mean, that's exactly what it was. And every single week we had to forward this, and every single day we had to work back and forth. Well, I mean, I was first generation, first time I'd ever met Hector. And then from there, Curt was actually in Hector's base shop. So Curt is one of the last people that Hector Lamarck promoted as a first generation RVP. But Curt and I met based on an accountability program. And then talk about that for a second, Curt, because that was just, I mean, God, it was 20 years ago, but that's how I met you the first time.
Well, it was huge. You and I always talk about the old days and how things were so different. And back then, there were no excuses. I mean, Hector, I'm going to share some things later that, you know, we all see Hector today, but man, he ran a tight base shop and he was tough. And one of the things in that accountability group, you know, you and I had been accountable for months. We hadn't lost a single check. We had done what we were supposed to do. And I remember after about 3 months, I literally had this one stretch of my life where there just was a lot going on. And there were a bunch of very real challenges we faced. And I sent an email to Hector letting him know that I wasn't going to be able to check in. And I literally typed him a paragraph and a half, and it made so much sense when I sent it. I just knew Hector was going to go, oh, poor Curt, you know, oh, my poor Osito, he's my little boy, he's okay. You know, he's just going to love on me. That's not what happened. I got an email back from Hector Lamarck that said, Curt, if you ever send me an email like that again, do not expect me to mentor you any further. I mean, it was straight to the point. And I just learned excuses don't excuse anything. Explanations don't explain anything. You either get results or you don't. And that's why we've been friends now for 20 plus years, is because we've got each other's back and we keep each other in check. And you need people that'll tell you the truth. And you've always been that person for me. And, you know, I hope that I'm that guy for you. And, you know, it works well for us.
It does, and you are, Curt. It's funny because Kenny Hughes held a meeting and called Curt, and I didn't know Kenny at the time. And Kenny said, "Okay, we're going to have a meeting." Well, the last thing I wanted to do is go to another meeting, and Curt felt the same way. So 7 of us met at a Denny's right next to my office in Redlands, California, and then we founded what was called the SCBC. So we started getting together, and we've been doing that for 20 years. But my accountability is everything, guys. And so what you have with LFIC is you have giants in the business pouring their content out to you. I can't even, Curt, what would your business look like today if you had this information at your fingertips growing up in the base shop? Seriously.
10 to 50 times bigger. We talk about it all the time. We had nothing. Our leaders were great leaders, but they were kind of checked out, you know, and we were orphaned. And we today, the LFIC, the MPI, I'm telling what you guys have today is incredible. It's a quantum leaping your time. You could go from 0 to hero so fast here, but you got to be engaged. I love what you said earlier. You got to apply what you learn here. Right. I'm taking notes. I'm screenshotting when Brad's talking. I'm sitting there and Brad's going to go, you might be a little intimidated on this call. So let me break it down and just, I'm going to keep it simple. And he starts reading stuff and I'm like, that's simple? What the heck? Man, I mean, he's so smart. There's so many leaders on this call that are so smart. We would have given our right arm to be in an environment to glean the wisdom that you guys are sharing, Arlie and Brad and Scott and Harms and Doug and Kathy. And I just look at this and I'm going, oh my gosh, there is no excuse for you not to get wealthy in Primerica with the support that's out there today. It's incredible.
Agreed. And accountability, guys, listen. So Curt and I meet in Hector's accountability. I tell Hector, listen, I'm ready to go open up my own office. What am I looking for? He said, Rick, you've got to have an op room that seats at least 100 people. And if you ever came to my office in Redlands and you looked at the length, the width, and the height of the office, it was identical to Hector's office. And you know what Curt did? Curt actually, the office Curt's in today, he took over Hector Lamarck's lease. We are beyond coachable, guys. So for us, when we run a play, we simply run the play. All we're going to share today is our concepts, our philosophies, how we've built our business, the businesses that we've built, and how important it is to make sure securities is attached to every single one. And listen, this is what Curt and I have done our whole career. If you go back and look at any of our trend tracks, you're going to see Curt talk about numbers here in a second. But when you were being field trained, You had somebody, what was it? It was three applications were expected. Curt and Gary's base. What was Hector's? When you were in Hector's base shop, what did he expect?
Well, if we submitted a life app, we had to submit a securities trade with the life app or have an appointment set with a securities producer in the office. Otherwise, the life app didn't get processed. So that was the expectation.
Would you repeat that one more time? Because I want people to understand. And again, this is how Curt and I grew up. Our philosophy is we've always been buy term and invest the difference. So say that one more time.
Well, wait, Donna and I got licensed the same month, and Hector told us right away we need to get our securities license. Now, this is back in '93. Nobody's talking like this. And 3 months later, we get our securities license. And the reason we were hustling to get our securities license is I started writing 10, 12 life apps every month, and every single life app had to have a securities application attached to it or an explanation why they couldn't afford a securities trade. And I had to, because I didn't have a securities license, there was a guy in the base shop named Joe Mascola, and I had to call Joe and introduce him to our client, and then Joe took over. And from that point forward, then my life app would get submitted. But every single life app had to have a securities trade attached or a securities appointment, or I couldn't submit. So what that did for me personally, I'm going, holy cow, look at all these clients, Joe. I'm just giving to Joe. I got to get my securities license. It's crazy because Joe, in 3 months of meeting with my clients, Joe had 25 securities clients, easy. And I'm like, holy cow, I can't wait around. And Donna and I both got our licenses 3 months later. And my partner is 6, 63, 26, 65, NMLS, you name it, man. Make sure your partners get licensed because we want to leave our businesses to them.
So guys, I think you can start to see that this is how we were brought up. We don't know any different. So we're not changing gears. We're not switching anything. It's just, and by the way, Curt, I hope you show your 3, 4, 5 year run. We understand. You've heard me talk about, or maybe you haven't, 2x5 will keep you alive. I think writing, 2x5,000 in life premium keeps you in business while you're building a business, but you start doing 2x10,000 and all of a sudden you're now becoming an RVP and starting to develop RVPs. So Curt, I'm going to turn it over to you. And I tell you what, here's the thing. If Bridget and I die, our kids know one thing, call Curt Joiner. And I'm not joking. I mean, literally, that's exactly what our kids are instructed to do. Curt is my best friend in the business, and him and I we're foxhole buddies. And I was in the Army. If you were in the service, you know what that means. I mean, you literally, you hold this person, your life in their hands. And that's how I feel about Curt. So I can't wait for you guys to see what he's going to present to you today. And you mark my words, within the next 6 months, he will be a Primerica $1 million earner. And it's not by chance. He wrote it out, he mapped it out, and he's executed on the exact same play Bridget and I did. And because we've all done it together. So Curt, I'm going to turn it over to you, brother, all yours. And like always, I'll probably interrupt you 10 times, but thank you, Curt, for being here. Thank you for preparing and presenting the information you're getting ready to. And I can't wait to talk to you when you're done.
Hey, thank you, Rick. First of all, what an honor. And I am so humbled. I'm looking at this list of people, and I'm looking at the people that logged in earlier. And I'm like, what am I doing on this call? I mean, you guys are the legends of Primerica, the giants of Primerica. And I'm just going to share with you what we've done over time. Just some background on me. I was a warehouse manager. My wife worked at a car dealership. It's the same old story. We were paycheck to paycheck. We were working really hard, managing people, but going nowhere. And somebody sat down with us. My wife actually met a guy at a car wash and had him come over to the house. And the guy came over and built us a financial plan. We became clients, and he tried to recruit me. And I told him, nope. I said, I love sports and I love warehousing. I'm not a financial guy. I'm a mess financially. I'm not the guy to do this. And he said, hey, no problem. I just thought I'd ask. So he took off, and that was the end of it, I thought. And I thought my wife was going to give me a massage because I took out life insurance. I was a good husband, man. I did all the stuff she wanted me to do. And I turned around and my wife was like, why didn't you do the business? And I said, this isn't for me. And she said, yes, it is. Nobody works harder than you. You love people. This is your thing. And I said, I don't see it. And 7 weeks later, I really believe it was God's plan for my life, because all my perceived security in life evaporated and my boss got let go. We lost our biggest corporate account, and fear got me out of my comfort zone, because your comfort zone will keep you broke. All growth comes from outside the comfort zone, and you have a choice when you step out of the comfort zone of faith or fear. And fear cancels out faith, and faith cancels out fear. And when you choose fear, you run back to your comfort zone. But when you choose faith, you move forward and you keep putting one foot in front of the other. And you say, hey, you know what? I don't have all the answers, but when I'm weak, he's strong. I'm just going to go and figure this thing out and get better and fail forward. And that's what we did. And so I'm just going to share with you, what we did, and hopefully it'll have an impact and make, an impact in your life. But, Rick and I were talking, one of the things that Hector always talked about was developing leaders. He always said, hey, Curt, what would your business look like? And this is the question I would ask you today. If you're successful at the business, what would your business look like if you had a bunch of people just like you in your business? If you had 10 people like you, Curt, holy cow, it'd be amazing, Hector. And he goes, well, then why aren't they? Why aren't they as good as you? And so he grilled into us about building leaders. And so I'm going to go through 7 keys to building leaders, and it'll all tie in. And I know there's securities in there, everything. But the first key to building leaders, the first key to changing your life is you got to make a decision. You got to make a decision. When we decided to go on that $1 million run and we started working our butts off, it all started with a decision. See, the IDE in decide means to put to death. Suicide, genocide, homicide, pesticide, we're putting to death pests, right? Homicide, we're killing a human being. Well, when you decide, you put to death failure. See, anything you've ever truly decided to do, you've done. So what are some of the things that you need to decide to do if you want to take your business to the next level and start building leaders? The first thing that you need to do is you got to decide to change. Now, for some of you leaders, maybe like me, maybe we got comfortable with 20, 30,000 a month and financial independence. Maybe we need to decide to change and get uncomfortable again. Maybe some of us, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So you know what you need to change. You need to decide to change those things to get you to the next level. Another thing that you need to do is you need to decide to leave the past failures in the past. See, how many of you right now would get in a car? And I just drove from Utah to California. I check my rearview mirror quite frequently because I speed a little bit, so I don't want to get pulled over. So I'll look in the rearview mirror. But how crazy would it be for me to take that 5-hour drive and just stare in the rearview mirror the whole way? If I did that, I'd crash. See, the front windshield is huge and the rearview mirror is small. You know why? I'm not supposed to be focused on the rearview mirror, and neither are you. Leave your past failures in the past. Bridget Miller says, forgive yourself for what you have or have not done and get ready to go to the next level. You know what I had to decide to do, and you might have to decide to do, is be coachable, not just agreeable. The Bible says you're not a prophet in your own land. Some of you right now have amazing leaders, phenomenal leaders, but their voices now are wah, 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 wah. They've drowned out, and you hung on every word your leader shared with you when you first got started, but now you got some success under your belt. You've kind of learned a few things. You got some of your own systems in place, and now your coach doesn't know anything. The same coach that helped you get to where you're at today? Come on, be coachable, not just agreeable. How about this? Some of us need to decide to start making some money, right? If you're new, I'm sorry, I'm a Christian, so I'm not trying to preach at you, but the Bible doesn't say money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. See, if I put something before God, that's called an idol. Money is just a tool. Money could be a tool, it could be a test, or it could be a threat. See, when I first started in my life, money was a threat. The more I had, the more I spent, the more I buried myself. Money was a threat to my financial security and to my marriage. And then when I started to grow spiritually, I started to realize that money is a test. Am I going to do the right things with it? Am I going to pay my tithes? Am I going to pay off my debt? Am I going to be a good steward with my finances? Because to whom much is given, much is required. And so if I can pass this test, then I always say, if God can get it through you, he can get it to you. So all of a sudden now I move up to the next. Now, ultimately, you know what money is? It's just a tool. Just like anything else, it's just a tool, right? So, but there's nothing wrong with making money. The 15 ministries we support, the human trafficking safe home we built in Nepal that has 40 girls out of sex trafficking, the homeless ministries, that all the things we do require finances. Nothing wrong with making money. Learn your business, grow your business. How about this? Compete, don't compare. Hector told me that. Hector said, Curt, you compete, but you don't compare. You don't compare yourself with Scott Fletcher. Are you crazy, Curt? Don't do that. You just compete with yourself. You get better. You just keep getting better. Put one foot in front of the other. Are you kidding me? Brad Gerard, $900 million under man. Don't compare yourself to Brad. You'll be suicidal. You'll be depressed. Curt, you just keep getting better. If you got 70 million under management, let's get it to 100. When you get it to 100, let's get it to 2, right? And then how about this? If you want to build leaders and you want to make these deep decisions, when you decide to lead others, guess what that means? You got to have a servant's heart. That means that your interests come below you. What for me, it's God, family, business. So for me personally, I look for a great relationship with the Lord. I take care of my family. I take care of my business, and somewhere down at the end, I'll do some stuff for me. But whoever wants to be the greatest needs to be the least. So we got to serve our people. We got to serve our people. We're here today because somebody served us. Somebody sacrificed their time to teach us how to get to the next level, right? So if we want to build leaders, we need to make a decision. That's number one. Number two, you know what we got to do? We got to lead from the front. I don't know anything other than lead from the front. Hector LeBarc said, Curt, you be the best example. Curt, you go out there and you make it happen. So when I got started, we're 32 grand in credit card debt. We live an hour from the office. We have a young child. We have every excuse in the business not to go win. We have 32 grand. We're just a mess. But you know what we did? We recruited 2 to 3 people a month, and we wrote 10 life apps a month, part-time, because that's what Hector told us to do. We helped and you look at that, and 2 by 10 seems like a big deal. It's just, what is it? It's 2 to 3 recruits a month and 2 or 3 families helped a week. That just means I'm serious. I've never understood full-time or part-time. All I understood is focused and unfocused. I got tons of full-timers that are unfocused, and I got part-timers that are focused, right? You probably have the same thing. It shouldn't matter whether you're full-time or not. You should be after this thing. So we made $37,000 our first year part-time 30 years ago. My wife quit her job. We pulled my daughter out of daycare. Then we made $64,000 our second year. I quit my job, came full-time. And then, when we went full-time, you know what we did? The same thing. Recruited 2 or 3 people a month and wrote 10 life apps a month, right? Helped 2 or 3 families a week. That took us to 100 and 150. And that right there, I know 2 by 10. I know it. I know that you hear it all over the place. But do you do it consistently? Now, we didn't do it for 1 month. We did it for 48 straight months. So now, why am I bringing this in? Well, because this is the MPI. So was I just recruiting and selling some life insurance? No. I did 75 securities cases my first year license, my first 9 months licensed, actually. Okay. And so look at that, personal. You see base shop? No, just me. And then the next year, look at that, Dave. Man, I got a little base shop, 21 securities trades outside of me. And all of a sudden, these subsequents, are taking place. And that means people are investing on autopilot. And Scott, I got fired up about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, people are starting to invest. And these are people I met with last year. And then the next year, I'm doing it again, 88 and 120. And look at the subsequents. Now we're up to like 2,000 transactions happening in a year. And then that fourth year, I did 122 cases. The base did 215. We started to develop some leaders. We did 1.2 million in volume. Now back then, guys, you got to understand, we threw a party for you if you did a $400 a month PAC. If you did a comma check investment, you were a hero. You were recognized back then. It was huge. So $1 million, wow. But you know what that did, guys? That built a foundation and it built relationships that I still have today with clients. And so last year we did $10 million. And for the giants in this business, that's nothing. But when I would hear people say 10 million, I'd think, oh man, I'll never get there. Or maybe someday I'll get there. Well, guess what, man? We did 12 million last year. We did 12,000 cases. Now that's, like I said, that may be nothing for some of the giants on the call, but for me, that was our best year ever. And you know what, where it started? All those relationships, all those monthly PACs back in the day when I just made sure I attached a life app. See, for me, I believe, we hear 2 by 10 by a lot of the builders, should be 2 by 10 by 10. That's what Hector told me. He said, buy term and invest the difference. I hear Art Williams. He said, I never forgave him for what they did to my mama. Buy term and invest the difference. So when I sat down with 10 clients and wrote up 10 policies, I remember Hector saying, most of your clients aren't going to die, but they better have investments. So we made sure that we attempted to do 10 securities straight. We didn't get there, Dave, but you know what we did? We got 8. We did 2 by 10 by 8. That's pretty close. And so I didn't set out to have $2 billion of life insurance under force. I just set out to make some extra money and be coachable to my coach. He said, develop people, buy term and invest the difference, and we've ended up with 72 million as of May in a down market, and we'll be at 100 million by year end. And we've got all kinds of momentum in our business right now. But you know how we created the momentum to go on the $1 million run? Call in all those people, Brent, that we've helped over the years, and just saying, hey, how are you? How are things going? We even have a script for recontacting clients, and it's just awesome. Just want to run it. It's just awesome. All right, number 3, recruit to build mindset. If you want to develop leaders, look, whether it's securities or what, there's 3 mindsets you can have. You can recruit to sell, which means you're going through the recruit just to get the sale. There's the recruit to recruit, throw them up against the wall, see what sticks. And then there's the recruit to build mentality. And you have to pick which mindset you're going to be in. Now, I've been in all 3 of those mindsets at different points in my career, I'm sad to say. But you know what? Here's what I know. The recruit to build mindset is what works. And what recruit to build means is if I'm training Scott, if I'm looking at him as a sale, I'm just like, Scott, take me to your best friend. I write up $100,000 rollover from an old 401k. See you later, Scott. I don't train him. I don't teach him. I just got another 100 grand under investments. But if I want to recruit Scott to build Scott, I'm going to take him I'm going to show him how I met that client. I'm going to add hey, Scott, did you see how I asked those questions? Did you see how I built that relationship with her? Now, the reason I did that is this. We don't want to rush the sale. Securities is a big deal. This is emotional. So we need to build trust and value. We need to hear her out. We need to see what's important to her. And then we're going to come back with a strategy that's specific to her. So you see why I did it that way. Okay, yes, good. All right, now let me show you how we're going to prepare. And I'm going to tediously teach him how to do it. Why? Because like Hector said, if Scott's as good as me, how good would my business look? Pretty good. Well, Curt, why isn't Scott as good as you? Oh, because you're too busy to train him? No, we got to recruit to build. All right, how about this? Simplify to multiply. Simplify to multiply. We get really good. When I first got started, I got so much information from so many leaders. This is a true story. When I first got started, probably a year into the business, my presentation was an hour and a half long. Boy, they knew the rule of 72. They knew what mutual funds were. Boy, I gave them everything in the kitchen sink. And I remember Art Williams saying when his first year he was a coach, his playbook was that thick. And then after a while, after he had some experience, his playbook was like that. It was like one page. And what I started to realize is less is more. So simplify to multiply. So our presentation's 21 minutes. When we explain investments, it's about 20 minutes. Keep it simple. So the company realizes there's a lot of working parts, but the company keeps it simple. They say, hey, recruit, train, license, and promote. Hector Lamarck understands there's tons of working parts to this business, but he said, hey, let's just break it down. There's 7 fundamentals. So my question to you is this: what is your system, and how do your people learn to do it your way? See, can you walk me through how I can be just like you? So what do you do to simplify to multiply? Well, what we did is we created an app, and on our app, we have video trainings, PowerPoint presentations, kitchen table presentations, product training, accountability, et cetera, et cetera. And so in our app, our guys can download, like I can train them 24/7. If somebody wants to learn about inflation, they can see a training my dad did on inflation. That's incredible because my dad's lived it. My dad saved his hotel receipt from 55 years ago on his honeymoon when it was $20 a night to stay at a 5-star resort, no tax, no service charge. And he has Social Security statements that say, will Social Security be there for you? Of course it will. And then he has statements that say it's a pact between generations. It was never meant to be your sole source. He can show how the verbiage has changed over time, how the government's crazy stuff. Well, guess what? I got that on video so my guys can learn that stuff. So simplify to multiply. All right. Number 5, train and trust your people. Train and trust your people. Okay. So what do you mean train, Curt? Bill Whittle says you must inspect what you expect. So Hector used to tell me, Curt, why don't you get two of your best top producers, bring them in and look at their presentation? And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And I bring them in and I'm like, I didn't say this out loud, but in my head, I'm going, where did you learn this? This is horrible. I've never taught anything like this. Why did you change this and change that? And they were our top producers. And what I realized is that people just start doing whatever they think is comfortable for them. And they leave out parts, and we have to inspect what we expect. So you've got to make sure that you are working with your people. And so, if I'm training Scott, you know what I'm going to do with Scott? I'm going to train him personally. I'm going to start. It's going to be it's going to be me, we, you. I'm going to do everything first, and I'm going to teach him. Then we are going to do it together. And then eventually I'm going to loosen the reins and I'm going to let him do it, but I'll be there for moral support. But I'm also going to prepare with him. I'm going to say, hey, Scott, give me that presentation before we go on it. I might even record it and say, Scott, practice it. Because when it gets to game time, I get one shot to either build his confidence or tear his confidence down. And so I need to make sure he's prepared. Does that make sense? Then let them do it. Let them do it. That was hard for me. I used to be a control freak, so I wanted to do everything myself. But you know what? All that did was take their confidence away. When it came to game time, Dave, I'd say, Dave, let me do it. What that said to Dave is, I don't trust you. I don't believe in you. So I realized it was better for me to spend time with Dave behind the scenes and then let him do it and be there for moral support and build his confidence. You got to have a fail forward mindset. You know, Sarah Blakely, she the youngest billionaire, female billionaire in history. She's the creator of Spanx. And if you ever watch any of her bios and things, she's an amazing, amazing woman. But you know what her dad taught her to do? Her and her brother would come home from school every day. And here's what her dad would say: Sarah, what did you fail at today? And she would say, well, Dad, I tried out for drama and I was terrible. I can't act for anything. And you know what Sarah's dad would do? That's awesome, Sarah. Great job. And the only time Sarah and her brother got in trouble is when they didn't attempt something. Failure was a great thing. And you know how she built her business? Teaching her employees to do the same thing. Take risks. Go ahead and go for it. Learn from mistakes. But failure wasn't this fatal thing. We all know that. John Maxwell tells us we need to fail forward. So we got to have that mindset. Number 6, we got to build strong relationships. We got to build strong relationships. A lot of us start to have some freedom, and I'm just being honest. I'm a people person. I love people. God's done a work in me, but there were times in my life where people were just a pain. And so I would do what I need to do and I would train them, but build strong relationships. I'm there for the meetings, Well, no, you can't build strong relationships without investing time. And you've all heard this, quality and quantity. Well, which one is it? Well, I don't know, breathing in, breathing out. Which one's more important? Do one without the other, you're in trouble. So quality time, what's that mean? When I'm with Brent, my job is to find out what makes his heart, like Art said, capture the heart before you ask for the hand. I need to find out what makes Brent go, what motivates him. What does he want to do? Does he want to retire his mama? I need to find out what motivates him. And then I do need to spend time with him. I need to wake him up in the morning and put him to bed at night. I can do that through calls, texts, meetings, contests, but I need to be the first thing on that guy's brain in the morning. And then when he goes to bed at night, man, Brent, I believe in you, man. By the end of the year, you're going to have that house for your mama. Let's do this thing. Make everyone feel special. Take notes. See, this is common sense for some of us, but it's not common sense for our people. You know what we need to do is when I meet, let's say Eldon, I need to find out about Eldon. And when I save his contact information, I write in here, met Eldon at Jersey Mike's. Highly motivated manager, looking to change his career, has a wife and 2 kids. And I'm going to keep a diary on Eldon so that before I ever pick up the phone to call Eldon, I can look back and go, hey, Eldon, so you said that your wife was going to school. Did she finish school? Maybe I didn't talk to him for a year, but he knows I care because I've got notes and I make him feel special.
Hey, Curt.
Rick Miller's the absolute best at that. Rick's
Kurt.
the first guy to wish me a happy birthday at 4.
Hang on. The point you're making right now is so important. And you know me, dude, I did the best. I was like 19 minutes. I did not interrupt you once. Okay.
I know. I was surprised. I was like, they muted you.
No, but that point that you're making right here. And first of all, guys, thank you, Brad, for the text. All we're trying to give you is literally fundamentals and all these points that Kurt's bringing up to you are critical. That last little note that he said right there, you better take note to that. You need to get into the habit of doing exactly what he's talking about right now, because this kind of stuff makes a huge impact in your life. I mean, you've got to be a master listener and be able to put it. And Kurt, I know you did an amazing job communicating that. Just say that again to people, because I don't think people understand how powerful the point you just made was about taking the time to put it inside there. I mean, it's one of these things where you have to be able to look at it. I mean, and we do it all the time. Kurt and I do. But my point to that is just say that again, because that was powerful, Kurt.
Well, every time you meet somebody, you save them as a contact, you save where you met them, you categorize it. So like if I type in the word prospect right now, I'll have about 2,000 people to call. If I type in the word investments, I'll have about 1,000 people to call, because I take a note every time I meet somebody and I put in there what the potential is, where I could see this person going. And then I get very specific. So a lot of us work with clients that have certain personalities. You need to make sure that you make notes of that, and they, like their kids. Like I have one couple, the most important thing in their life is leaving money to their son. They have one son and their grandbabies. So I make sure I note that. So every time before I make the call, I look at the notes. And when I call Jim or Sue and hey guys, how's it going? You know, how's so-and-so? How the grandkids? Boom. How about this? When we're coaching people on our team, I have some guys on our team that have serious father wounds. And they literally pull away if they get confronted. And Rick and I aren't that way. So I can tend to be maybe a little too brash once in a while, or maybe go, hey, you know what? Hey, Rick, you see what Eldon did? Man, he's going to kick your butt. Well, Hector did that to me all the time. That motivated me. That actually hurts that guy. So I have every note known to man in there on every prospect. So before I make that call, I go, listen, I need to frame it in a way where I'm challenging him, but letting him know I believe in him at the same time.
Agreed. And by the way, guys, let's see Kathy Brennan, great note just now. But and Scott Fletcher will talk about this at the end. Primerica is incorporating all this for you inside their CRM platform for you to be able to utilize this. But if you're not using the content, you're not taking the information, and you're not putting the names of their kids in the notes section where you have an idea when you're having a conversation with people. These are little things that turn into millions of dollars down the road. All right, Kurt, back to you. And I won't interrupt for at least two minutes.
I'm almost done. This is it, the last one. So, all right. So those are 6 things. Number 7, guys, use the power of encouragement and expectation. You know, we live in a world right now that if you pay attention to the news, you know, it's over. If you know, I have strong beliefs, you know, but the point is this: I stay away from a lot of that stuff because it just doesn't do me any good. I worry about what I can control. What can I control? Like Art said, our attitude and our activity. So you know what encouragement is? Webster says it's the action of giving someone support, confidence, or hope. And I know that I've been in this business a while, and there's time where I need encouragement. I've known great leaders where they've been able to confide in me, and I know people that make $500,000 a year that there's been times when they need encouragement. And so I don't think we're ever immune to encouragement. The biblical definition of encouragement centers around the idea of building strength and courage in the inner self. I love this. It's literally the idea of putting courage in to your people. When you encourage, you're infusing them with courage. So why on earth would we ever deny somebody encouragement? We should look at every opportunity to encourage our people. And then, you know, expectation, we should expect them to win. We should expect them to succeed. You know, a belief that someone will or should achieve something. See, when we were brand new, we believed in our people, and then we got some head knowledge and we started dissecting our people. We got to go back to our first love and love our people and encourage our people and expect them to win. The biblical definition is a positive hope that something good will happen to you, the prospect of good to come. The Bible says all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So I know I need to encourage myself. When I'm down, I say, I can do all things. And when I'm weak, he's strong. All things work together. I don't have to trust in my own understanding. He'll direct my path. Man, if I need wisdom, I can ask and he'll give it to me. I need to encourage myself I need to expect myself to win. Why wouldn't I do the same for others? So those are the 7 things that helped us build and build us a diversified business. And obviously, Primerica, it's not where we want to be, but it sure ain't where we used to be. And we're able to take care of our loved ones and support ministries and do the things that are important to us, and serve at a church where we're just changing people's lives. Every day, the best part of Primerica, man, what is that bumper sticker? It says the worst day of fishing is better than the best day of work, right? Hey, worst day in Primerica is better than the best day of your whole job, man. Because life is beautiful. Rick's got to go today. He's signing papers on a $500,000 home at the lake, his 2nd or 3rd house. I mean, the conversations we're talking about today, we should pinch ourselves. Can you believe this is our life? Primerica is the best thing that ever happened to you. Sometimes you just need to remind yourself of that and share the good news with others. So that's all I got, Rick.
Curt, unbelievable job, man. I tell you, it's I never get tired of listening to you talk and listen to you coach and listen to you teach. You have a gift when it comes to articulation and communication. You always have. It's just super powerful. Kathy Brennan brought up a question. I know we're going to open it up to a panelist talk here in just a second, but Kathy, why don't you ask that question, because I think you're right. That's a huge point on that, and I think there's a fine line of encouraging, and because they have to be ready. So Kathy, I'm going to turn that question over to you.
Very good.
Yeah. I loved it. Totally grew up, same world, you guys. Totally grew up, same world. Chris Koob one time locked me out of my own morning meeting because I was late, right? I'm standing outside banging on the door. I was mad. So I brought it up because I personally struggle with this, right? Which is, how do I do the accountability while still being super encouraging, right? How do I kind of combine that stuff? Do you guys have any good tips on that for us?
I know I watched Hector. Hector was a master at sandwiching. So, he would always compliment, hey, Curt, your work ethic's amazing. Or, hey, Curt, that presentation was phenomenal. And then he'd coach, and then he would compliment again. Curt, but when you do that, you need to cover this, this, and this, so there's a little more clarity. Does that make sense? All right, now practice that. Let's role play that. Okay, that was better. You see how that came across? Now I could understand. Curt, I'm telling you, you make those little tweaks, you're going to be amazing. There's nothing going to stop you. And so he would sandwich it. So 2 things, Kathy, was sandwiching it. And then the second thing is the 80-20 rule is, a lot of that encouragement and expectation. I should have clarified, really we're nice to everybody, but we really need to encourage and have expectations of those 20%ers, because there's people that aren't ready to win. And it doesn't matter what you say or do to them. They're just not ready to win. And Hector always said, your words are whispers, but your actions scream to me who you are. And so he would never spend time with somebody who wasn't doing the right behavior, showing up to meetings, being on time, practicing the skill sets. If you didn't do that, he was not going to spend time with you.
And Kathy, one of the things that Hector basically taught Curt and I to do, when I got in the business, I mean, Gary took me on 2 field training appointments, and the second appointment, he got sick coming down the hill from Big Bear and was throwing up, and I had to do it. And well, shit, I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but that was my whole field training experience. Curt, I mean, how many times did Hector take you? Grew up in his base shop. How many times did Hector take you on an appointment?
0. I begged him. I had one person I was super nervous to meet with, and I begged him to come to my office and do this one appointment, and he came there and he didn't close. So I had one field training appointment and he didn't close, but he taught me every Saturday. He brought a kitchen table on the stage and he showed me what he would have been doing. And that's all I needed. I didn't need him to hold my hand. I just needed an example to follow.
And one thing he does, and let's open it up to the rest of the panelists after this, Curt, one of the things that Hector does is, and he won't, you have to ask him what you want. He won't correct something unless you absolutely ask him. And I don't remember the first time. It had to be early part of 2000. And he said, Rick, are you asking me or are you telling me? And that is a powerful question. And I've used it ever since, because if you're asking me something, I can actually give you input. If you're telling me something, all I can do is encourage the best of your behavior to try to fix whatever decision you've already made. So it is, for us, I mean, one of the things I do in our hierarchy is I'll ask somebody to, if they want to be accountable, great. Then what I expect, text me your calendar every single day. And inside that calendar, you're going to be, and we just used, Bill Whittle's calendar that people buy. And the people like, here's a division of my base shop, just went over $50,000 last night. Every single day, she hasn't missed a day of sending me her calendar. Why? Because Brandy wants to be coachable. She just retired. Her husband was a cop, and now they're going to go on their run. But you're right. There's and Kurt and you and I made the mistake of pounding people. So I think what Hector helped me do is get people to become master askers. Hey, how do you think I can get better at this? If I ask Hector a question, he will give me exactly what I need to do. But he won't correct something unless I'm going off a cliff. And that was powerful, because if I seen Kurt doing something stupid, I go, look, dumbass, you're about to, drive this guy out of your base shop. And I would overhandle it the wrong way. And then Hector would wait till Kurt came to him and said, how do you think I should handle this? And then that's how so really for us, we were trying to, for us, a hammer everything was a nail. So we were just going to beat the crap out of it. But Hector gave us more tools inside of our pouch.
I want to say one thing to that. In 30 years, I've never seen Hector ever give unsolicited criticism.
Nope.
Never. I have seen him give unsolicited encouragement, but never criticism. He has only if we ask for it.
And by the way, those of us that want it, we ask for it all the time. Don't tell me what I'm doing right. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. So what I encourage people on this call, listen, ask your RVPs, look, what can I do? What mistakes do you see me making? And at that point, we can actually help you. But if you're a snowflake, then this probably isn't for you. So we need people to want to be ready to be held accountable, and then suck it up. And then don't be the little freaking cupcake where you get your butt hurt when we tell you the real thing to do. Oh my God, you mean that's work? Yes, it's work, but it's worth it. So sorry, didn't mean. So let's open it up to the rest of the panelists, guys, before we kick it out. Thank you, guys. Great question.
Awesome job today. I've got a question for you. And I agree. I think conflicts arise when expectations differ, but you have to have standards. And so Hector had very high standards. I used to sit back and watch, I'd fly to LA, when I was totally broke, just to get a chance to sit in Hector and Rick's managers meetings and watch what they would do. And they would call people out, especially Rick, man. He would call people out, stand up, and he would call them out. So Hector and Rick were kind of two different types of personalities. But,
totally.
When it comes to accountability, we've all done the same thing, made the same mistakes, chewed people out, pushed people out of the business. But on the other hand, if you're not holding people accountable, do you really have empathy for your people? I think if the accountability comes from a place of empathy where I care about you, I can't watch people suffer and die in the business when I can do something to try and save them. So there's that conflict there. Like how do you keep high standards that you expect, because people rise sometimes to those standards, but then without pushing people out?
I don't think you can ever lower your expectations for people, because the right people, do you guys just heard what Kurt just said about Hector getting licensed? For us, I expect you to get your SIE done 2 weeks after you pass your life exam, and we don't change that expectation. Brad, nobody ever, does everybody do it? No. In fact, about probably 30% actually end up doing it, but we've never changed our expectation of that. So I think that's a great point. I tell you, what a powerful sentence. Conflicts arise when you have different expectations. That is powerful.
Yep. And accountability comes from empathy. So much wisdom, Brad. You're exactly right. When I actually started to actually really empathize with people and look at their backgrounds and see them as human beings, not just wheels in the cog, it changed everything. We always say, band of brothers and things like that. There's more to the story. And so if somebody's acting up, hurting people hurt people. So there's a reason why they're acting up, and that empathy to dig in and build that relationship and hold them accountable, because nobody else is going to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. So we're the only ones. And if God's entrusted you with that relationship, how you steward that relationship is going to determine your next level.
Great question. All right, guys, panelists, come on. There's way more of you on here than us four.
Hey, dude, I'll jump in. Kurt, my God, what a clinic, dude. God, that was awesome. Rick, great job. I'm sitting here like going back. We used to go out to Keith and I got an opportunity to meet Hector and spend the night with him. And we got to go to the thing you guys used to do in Palm Springs.
Yep.
And we took all our RVPs out for 5 years. We actually stopped at the 9/11. When 9/11 happened, we all had flights to go, and they shut the airspace down. And I was afraid all the wives and husbands were going to knife me if I took them, tried to get them. So we actually stopped. But man, that was such a roll down memory lane. That was awesome. I would just like to throw in, you talked about leadership, and so many times people who want to build a business don't realize that the approach that they're taking sometimes is more about management and more they're treating their team more like a concierge than leading it from the front. And you guys talked about that. And maybe you could just talk a little bit more about just the importance of the leadership that you give, showing people, Hector used to say, tell them what you're going to do, then do it, then tell them what you did. Talk about how leading from the front, like you did, Kurt, with your numbers, makes such a difference. And even Rick, when I saw you at the convention, we were talking about how you got to $1 million, right? 500,000 of that income was you to start your team off. I mean, you got to $1 million because you demonstrated a tremendous leadership example that your team caught fire on and pushed it over the top, man. Talk a little bit about that, if you would.
That's you, Rick.
Well, honestly, Scott, it's just our culture. We don't know any different because that's the way we've been brought up in the organization. That's the way we've been brought up in the hierarchy. So for us, honestly, we feel really hypocritical. And I know, Kurt, the hair on my arm stands up because if I'm going to tell you I'll never ask you to do something I didn't do. So for us, and I can look back at every cycle of my business when I wanted to ramp it up, I did exactly what Kurt's doing right now. This is exactly what Bridget and I did a year or two ago, actually about 4 years ago, where we get back to the fundamental basics. So for us, there's no conflict. We're different seasons of our lives right now. I mean, it's so funny when you think about your upbringing. Gary McCrum and my upline's got, I don't know, a house in Alabama, a house in Florida, a house in Arizona, and a house in California. Hector's got houses all over. So does Kurt. So do I. Well, you know why? Because that's all we've seen. We've seen, Hector says, I want to travel where the weather is. And by the way, wait till you see the house that Hector's finishing in Cabo right now. Oh my God, it's insane. But so for us, the expectation's always been there. So Kurt and I just expected we could have vacation houses all over the place. And Kurt does 3 or 4 and the same with me. So for us, it wasn't, at least for me, there's no way I can tell somebody in my team to do something I didn't do. So for us, it was just, I think it's just the way we have to lead by example. That's just the way that's how I grew up in the business, Kurt. I don't know how you would describe that any different.
No, yeah, I can't expect people to do something that I didn't do. Hector said, never miss a meeting. I never missed a meeting. We always were early. We stayed late. He said, if he said memorize, I've never understood people taking forever to learn the basics. Hector taught me Ethor on a Saturday morning, and I had already blown up my market saying all the wrong things. And he taught me to call Dave and say, hey, Dave, I'm really excited about a new career I'm starting. I'm going through some training. Need your help, value your opinion, love to get some referrals from you. Would weekends or weeknights be better for us to get together? And then if Dave said, what is it? Well, we teach people how to make money, save money, get out of debt. Wouldn't you agree? A lot of families need that kind of help today. Okay, great. Weekends or weekdays. How long will it take? Oh, about 30 minutes unless you have questions. Weekends or weekdays. Well, let me talk to Kelly, Kurt, and get back to you. Well, Dave, our schedule's getting so busy. Let's do this. Let's tentatively set up a time that works with you and me. You run it by Kelly and then get back if that doesn't work. Fair enough? Okay. Weekends or weekdays. He taught that on Saturday.
Yep.
Saturday night, my wife and I role played that all day, made recordings. And by Sunday, we had it mastered. And for 30 years, I don't have to spend any energy on that.
And literally, here it is. Oh, Dave, I know you're a man of your words, so I'm not going to call you before the appointment. Just make sure Kelly's there because my field trainer is going to be with us. This is fundamentally stuff we learned early on, exactly. And we never changed that. So it's always, to me, it's always TBFAR. It's always your thoughts equal your beliefs equal your feelings, equal your actions, equal your results. Always TBFAR. So our expectation is we are obsessive compulsive believers. We absolutely think that people are going to follow through, just like the giants that are on the screen in front of us. We just want to emulate where you're at. That's why we plug in. So that would be my question there. Any other questions? I know we got to be respectful of time.
Hey, we had the fewest questions in here we've ever had, man. That'll tell you how much people absorbed everything you guys were saying.
Well, I appreciate that, Scott. So we're excited. We're excited to, I mean, when I look at where this company is and I look at where we're at, for Bridget and I, we made a decision, a year ago and about a year and a half ago now. And I would tell you all, just make your own decisions. And from there, don't be afraid of the work. Write it out, map it out, and execute. I mean, that's really what all of us have done, that are on this screen. So, Scott, I'm going to kick it back over to you and Eldon.
Thanks,
Hey, guys.
Go right ahead.
Unbelievable job. When you're talking about people, relationships, making notes, making people feel special, that's what this whole magic of this business is. And you guys just do a masterful job. And so I can't thank you guys enough for coming on, teaching and sharing. The lack of questions shows the clarity of the way you deliver in teaching your people and, putting your heart out there. And I think that's why there's not a lot of questions. And you just like home run. So again, what I want to remind people is that this training is so powerful. I think this is one of the best training. Don't miss a Thursday, but also the way that things are going on the LFIC show on Tuesdays. Don't miss the Tuesday training. I think the elements of building a business is just absolutely slam dunk, home run. This is more securities focused, but all the other business elements and building a great business are all covered on Tuesdays. And so if you're not getting on the Tuesday one, or you thought, oh, it's just about this or just about that, I would say, hey, come back and revisit what's going on Tuesday. You will see that the element and the change of what's being delivered on Tuesdays is something that everybody in your team should be on. So I just want to put that out there. And again, if you can't get on the Tuesday one, there's the YouTube link that gets posted, but super, super powerful, super, super strong. So again, just want to thank everybody and appreciate Brad, you doing the orientation. Look forward to seeing everybody again this next week.